Hello there, SERAPHIM17 once again. This is my Dark Souls 3 walkthrough. We're going to be moving through the Crucifixion woods and we're going to be toppling the Crystal Sage. Once again, we're at Firelink. We're going to be doing some of the more sundry tasks that are going to build this build, and I've left a lot of this in just so for the person who's not too experienced with the game can follow what I do and emulate my strategies and my build to have greater effect and greater success at beating the game. So as I've done in previous videos, I have the strategy book next to me, and I'm going to be looking into some of the enemies here and telling you some certain details about them. In the last video it was just the Corvians, and the Corvians generally drop their weapon and hollow gems, and there's nothing too interesting there. But in this area, way more interesting, because we have these lycanthrope hunters, which are these men with the trees, and they're actually one of the more trickier enemies in the game, because not only is there a lot of them, but they have massive range, deceptive speed, and they can multi-hit you with that stake of theirs. They're an enemy that are very intimidating when you meet them in the right way. Like, for the most, you might not have noticed that they can ever be a danger, but if you've gone into some of the spots I've been into, like this, you appreciate just how dangerous these creatures can be. And I put on Spook then so that I wouldn't trigger the dog, and I think I trigger the dog anyway because he's looking at me. So it wasn't really the best strategy, but all I've done there is showed you a pretty quick path to get the Grass Crest Shield and to hit this bonfire. Once you hit this bonfire, the dog should disappear, but he might not let you, so be very careful. And just try not to get romped by them, because dogs are very interesting in this game. In Bloodborne, I thought they were probably the most fair they could be, and then they introduced those spiky dogs, which were worse. So I just think dogs are cheap. That's just how they play. Like, the rats in Bloodborne, they took a rat which could cheese you with multi-hit attacks, and they made it fairer. And then in this game, they went back to some of the old mentality for the rats, and they didn't give you too many of them, so you don't really understand how the rat's bad at all. You know, you only meet them a few times. But the dogs, by God, did they give all the bullshit that the rats had to the dogs, and now the dogs are just massive assholes. But be wary of the crucified men, especially the ones with the glowing eyes. They can be very aggressive and very, very dangerous. The good news is they are incredibly susceptible to bleed, so if you have any kind of Carthus Rouge or bleed weapon, you can make them your bitch rather easily. What we're doing here is we're running around the woods and picking up some of the essential items, some of the not so essential items, and just taking on some of the residents to show you what this area has to offer. So while we do this, let us peruse the bestiary, shall we? So we classes the Road of Sanctuary, or the Road of Sacrifices, I don't know why I said Sanctuary, as the Crucifix Woods as well. So a lot of the people here are going to be the same ones that are categorized in that area. So we have the Lycanthrope, which weakness is bleed. It drops Titanite shards and embers, which are these creatures that we're killing here. The people who I'm calling crucified men, I believe they are lycanthropes. They are lycanthropes. Apparently they are vile. There you go. The hunters are the men with the huge sticks that we just witnessed. They drop pike, so that's a very big spear, and titanite shards. They're weak to poison and toxic, but who the fuck uses that? I don't know anybody. And then there's the Sage's Prentice, which I believe are the dudes in the robes. They drop long swords, light crossbows, broken swords, daggers, pikes, wooden shield, throwing knives, firebombs, and crystal gems. So these guys are pretty good, as I missed my parry there like a well-experienced veteran player should. The Festering Starved Hound and the Starved Hound. What is the difference here? Maybe one of these has red eyes. Maybe that's the difference. They don't drop anything, and their weakness is fire. Up here is an NPC that you can talk to should you choose to. You can give him spells. You can also use him as an important cog of getting the Morian Blade and doing the quest to become like the Lord of Darkness or whatever it is. The Sage's Devout is the dude with the big hat, I think. He drops Sorcerer's Staff and Crystal Gems. Once again, poison and toxic are his weakness, but I don't see many people using that. And then we have the crabs, the Great Crab and the Lesser Crab. And then we have the Poison Horn Bugs, which are those bugs from Dark Souls 2. Which is hilarious, because Dark Souls 2 had some cool enemies, but the only ones they brought back were the shit ones. What a strange choice. Those crappy bugs, though, they drop rotten pine resin. The crabs drop titanite shards and moss. But this is the Crystal Sage, so I should probably talk about this guy. So all I'm going to do on the Crystal Sage is I'm going to buff my weapon with some fire, because it's all I've got access to at the moment, and I'm going to mash him down with the superior speed and damage of these straight swords. There's no real skill to this fight, it's just be first, be fast, and kill him before he does bullshit. The big issue you'll have here is if you can't see which is different between the fake ones and the real one. The real one does purple projectiles, the fake ones do blue. If you're strong enough at this point, you can one-cycle this boss, but he has to do the right move. If he doesn't do the casting, I think, of the soul mass, he doesn't give you enough time to kill him quickly. But at this point, when it gets to the clones will take one hit. So look for the purple one, thin the blue ones, and then get in there and do the damage. But just be aware, magic hurts early on. It hurts a lot, so you need to be very confident in your ability to stay alive here, because if you're not, you can get put in a really bad spot, as I'm in right now. But keep your cool, do your healing, hopefully you don't get cheesed by some bullshit Star Wars laser balls, and then get rid of the clone, and then hopefully we can go and kill Mr. Sage. And this is a fight that gets worse on New Game Pluses because he takes more damage, and the more damage the Crystal Sage takes, the longer he has to do the bullshit. But fast weapons and bleed are definitely your friend in this encounter. We've just come here a little early, so we don't have a lot of those options just yet. If you want to smash this boss and have no issue, come here after you've killed the Abyss Watchers. Come here after the Abyss Watchers and you will be considerably stronger. You'll probably have a Carthus curved blade or a Shortell or something, any kind of curved sword that has bleed on it, and then you can double dip with the Carthus Rouge because you get that from those catacombs after the Abyss Watchers, and this boss will drop just completely melted. But at the moment, we did perfectly fine with the Storer's Sword and a couple of cheeky heals, and now we can continue on to the path of the Cathedral of the Deep. We're going to be picking up some Crystal Lizards for the Twinkling Titanite to upgrade our Anri Sword, and we're going to be fighting some NPCs. But I'm going to go back to the Crystal Sage to see what the book says about him, because it might say something interesting, it might not. So the Crystal Sage has 2,723 HP as of when this book was recorded. And there's a lot of inaccuracies in this book, guys, so don't take it as science. Oh, parried. Bitch. He drops 8,000 souls, and his soul, he's obviously elemental attack. He's weak to physical attack, poison, and toxic. Maybe poisoning him is valid. I wonder if the poison ticks while he's underground. When he vanishes, if the poison continues to eat away at him, that could be great. Poison him and then throw shit at him and get him toxic. Maybe he kills himself. That might be worth checking out. Well, I wonder what it says about the strategy for this dude. Let me just double check that. So, not that anybody will really need this for the Crystal Sage, because he's not a boss many get stuck on, but you never know. Difficulty's subjective. Maybe you had a tricky time. Doesn't mean that somebody didn't. This is the NPC, by the way. He has a dagger, so you can parry him. It makes him very predictable. Crystal Sage. You ready for this? Pearls of Wisdom. Oh, parried. Initially, the Crystal Sage appears in front of you and uses a handful of spells to attack from range. Although many of these spells can track, skillfully dodging is 100% effective in avoiding the attacks. Really? Isn't that true of everything in every game, if it controls well? Sprint towards the to close the distance, and dodge, only when you have to. Walk the last few feet to start regenerating stamina before your big combo, and unload on the Crystal Sage. Pearls of Wisdom here, guys. If you've kept up with your weapon upgrades, you can cut off half the boss's life with one combo. There you go. So it's pretty standard stuff. He's not telling you to do anything exotic. But then again, this walkthrough doesn't tell you to do anything exotic. It barely tells you to do anything at all. I'll let it alone, though. You know, it should have been Future Press that did it. Instead, we get Primer. And unfortunately, Primer don't make great guides anymore. This one has mistakes in it. It has spelling errors. It has picture errors. It has all kinds of fucking errors. But I don't make the books. I'm just going to share some of the information for the people who are interested, who didn't buy it, who were smart. But this is us moving towards the Cathedral. You might wonder why I'm here for this. Aren't we going to do Crucifixion Woods? Well, we are, but I'm also going to unlock this bonfire. So, after this, we're going to be going back towards Farron Keep, but we're going to do a little bit of this area as we kill these priests and we pick up one of these components for our Estus Flask. There's a shard. There's a wooden shield, if you like it. There's a cheap shot by that bitch. He's going to do the immolation, but we're not going to let him with some cheeky pokes, and I'm going to hit this bonfire. So the Cathedral of the Deep, seeing as how we're here. The dude who just attacked us then, those ones that were praying, they are called Devout of the Deep. Which is a pretty fancy name. They drop longswords, spears, light crossbows, daggers, arbalist, firebomb... Oh no, sorry. The arbalist variant drops firebombs, red bug pellets, throwing knives, and heavy bolts. So they drop a ton of stuff. And once again, they're weak to poison and toxin, yet you wouldn't think that shit would work because you can't really weaponize toxic, to my knowledge, and poison is one of those that just doesn't seem worth it. Look at the frame rate, by the way. Oof. Frame pacing. It shit the bed. These guys are called corpse grubs, those leech monsters that bleed you. I just ran past it because it's not worth fighting. I'm going to kill the crystal lizard, and I'm going to kill the crystal lizard babies that are to his left, because we're coming here for Titanite. Unfortunately, this guy gives you the special stuff, and I forgot, but I'm going to kill him anyway. So, the corpse grub. He has 680 life as of this book was recorded. He's weak to fire, which makes him dance, which is good. And he drops Soul of a Deserted Corpse and a large Soul of a Deserted Corpse, so he drops consumable souls. That's about as good as it gets. But this is me critting the lizard. If you didn't... Because at the beginning of the game I didn't fight one of these, I killed this guy here just to show you the best way to do it. Stun them with a few strikes and then critical them, and it's the best way to kill them. And then we can reap the reward with the little ones who are going to give us Twinkling Titanite. So there's the first one, and then there's another one to our left coming up here before you get to those curse grubs. Or corpse grubs, sorry. So there he is, and I think this is going to give us another level on the Anri sword. But at the moment, the raw Astora sword is going to do all the work we need it to. But you'll notice I use a Homeward Bone, and we're probably going to be going back to the Firelink Shrine. So, back to Firelink, hit the bonfire, out of habit. Probably should have... am I going to go to Andre and burn the stuff? No, we're going to do some quick levels, some cheeky levels. So what we're doing, more luck, couple more luck, put us up to 16 luck. Not doing too bad on the stat field. Not going to the Maiden. Are we going to go to Andre? What am I doing? Am I going to use the Crystal Sage's Soul? Use the Tiny Souls? Popping consumables. Every Souls player is very familiar with this practice as we come back to a good old friend and we look into maybe popping another level on our sword. So Anri can now go up to +3, which is 2 levels away from its max, and it's in and around this point where it's starting to look like it's going to do a bit more damage than our other weapon, which is good news. But once again, guys, it's the 40 luck that makes this legit, and it's the Carthus Rouge that really cashes in that bleed. It is a combination, a chorus between two separate bodies coming together to make something rather special. Oh, I'm getting some fake levels off of Yol here. So if you do not know, every time you do this, it increases your hollowing. I forget the name of it. It might just be called literally hollowing, but it essentially turns you into a dried out prune. It's pretty ridiculous. But the cost of it is you get free levels. If you want to reverse it, you have to pay a shit ton of souls. But the benefit of it is the higher your hollowing, the more apparently it affects hollowing scaling. So hollowing weapons are the luck path, effectively. They give you a bonus, I think it's 5 luck as a stat builder, and it's a decent modifier on weapons to help you squeeze out more damage from your luck build. I don't know everything about luck builds, guys, so I'm not going to parade as if I do. All I did then is I left and I came back, because he'll only let you do so many levels depending on how many times you need to die, depending on your level of hollowing, which is it. I'm at 23 at the moment, so I'm just going to use this guy, give me these free levels. And you might be wondering, is there any downside to doing this? And there is. The first downside is you look like shit. If you're somebody who appreciates aesthetic, you're probably going to either want to wear that ring or you're going to want to wear a mask, because you do not look good. But the additional downside is if anybody's using a weapon that gets bonus damage against hollows, like the Mirror Greatsword, you will take extra damage. So be very careful of that. I have no idea if any of this has been patched. As I've mentioned, I'm not an authority on luck builds. I just decided to do it because I've seen a few speedruns, and apparently that was the strongest method you can go through the early game, and of course then the later game. Also folks, one of the problems with showing you my method between the madness is you're going to see just how much my mind changes and just how my choices, and I forget things and I remember things, and it's not planned out as if it was some kind of concise speedrun. It's just me remembering and forgetting, and some of it can be a little bit messy, so I'll apologise in advance for that. But if you do follow it, you'll see the major beats and you'll see what is expected of you and how you have to progress to have the same results that I have in these videos. And the good news is, I think that this particular build doesn't take a large amount of skill, because the straight swords are very fast, the bleed is something that's always ticking up as long as you're attacking, and you can get all of these weapons really early on. You can build your build however you like, and if you want to do some farming to get extra life so you can take more hits, you can do that, you know? Everybody plays at their own pace, everybody has their own style, and this is just me showing you mine. So we come back to the beautiful woods, and then we're going to be going across here and potentially fighting those two hunter NPCs. Am I going to fight the crab? No, I just went up there for their laugh, apparently. The crab's coming though, look at him doing his little shifty side dance. Generally the crabs will not follow you onto land, but there will always be those rare moments where they do, so you want to be very careful. Be careful here, there is a chain pull of these two NPCs. A very cool way of getting them without having to fight them is to get them to chase you, then run to the ladder that leads down to Firelink Keep, and then just kind of sit there on the ladder near the top. Not too close to the top, but not too far down, and they will usually run and just kill themselves by falling down the big pit. Doesn't always work that way, but when it does, it's really fun. However, I like to fight them, so I'm going to be taking this guy on. You cannot parry jump attacks, so do not try. This dude uses a lot of the war cry and he does a lot of damage. He also moves incredibly fast for all the weight he's packing, and his stamina is rather questionable. When he gets low on life, he's going to start trying to heal with a spell, and you're going to kill him because of it, which is unfortunate for him, but very fortunate for us. So there's your great club if that takes your fancy, and now we get to take on the dude with the giant fish sword. The crazy, weird, hooked, curved great sword. For some reason, this reminds me of the type of thing people would use to capture massive fishes in RPGs. It just does. I don't know why. It just kind of does. So we're going to be trading a few hits here. He has quite the health pool as well compared to us, so be very careful. Parries work exceptionally, but this guy likes to mix in moves that cannot be parried, so be very careful. He also loves that spinning weapon art, so be wary of that too. There's his cestus. Be careful. If he parries you, you're going to get some big damage. Pick up his exiled greatsword, and then we can continue on down the ladder towards good old Farron. But first, more looting, because what would a Souls game be if I didn't pick up all the shiny things? You know, you've got to do these things, that's how the game's designed. But we're coming up on the end of Crucifixion Woods, and now we're going to be moving on to the next sequence. So I'd like to thank everybody who's checking out the walkthrough, just if it's for the commentary or just to see what I do, or if you are actually in need. Regardless of your reasons, thank you for being here, thank you for supporting me, and as always, you take care now.